see. And then choose it.
This one.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Okay, it works now.
All right. As always, we we always have some stuff to go through. But anyway, okay, so I guess we are now live. So welcome everyone. Let us know in the chat if you're there, if you can hear and listen everything perfectly. So I'm Stephanie, and this is Thiago.
Hello.
We are the hosts of the hexdevs podcast, but recently we wanted to start a new project called Open Source Thursdays because we have always wanted to contribute to open source, and because we are both Rails developers, we thought of, doing it with Rails. And so do you want to do the recap?
Yeah, so the recap, 2 weeks ago we cloned the Rails repository, and we started looking at the issues, and we started seeing how we could contribute to the project. So we started looking at documentation and the guides, and they told us that you could either install a VM to be able to contribute, or you can just install all of the dependencies. And then we saw a problem on the action pack documentation, and then we decided to fix the issue on the documentation. So you did the fix, and then you created a fork for the Rails project, and then you committed the fix, and we submitted a pull request, which was accepted right away. So that was cool. And now what we've done, we went over the guides again, and we added the dependencies and everything. So it looks like we have everything set up in order to be able to run the project.
Mm-hmm.
And today we want to pick one of the issues. We want to look at some of the issues that we filtered and see if we can work on one of them. And that's pretty much it, I guess, that we want to do.
Yeah, just to recap on the VM, I did try to install the VirtualBox and Vagrant setup that it's called Rails Dev Box, but I can't use the Windows command prompt. And then I tried on my Ubuntu and it works well. So it should, whatever works is, part of the process of coding. So that's what we're going to work now. And so can you open the issues? Yeah, live.
How do I use this?
You just go to live. Okay. All right. So you can chat. I see that there is someone in the chat, so maybe you can say like your name and where you're talking from. And so Thiago did a research on the issues on the GitHub, on the Rails list of issues, and we tried to select the ones that looked like we could at least reproduce. We didn't plan anything. They just seem like it's something that we can actually get started and try to understand. But the whole process of understanding the issue, seeing where it is implemented in the code base, we are going to do that here with you. So, oh, hi. Hey, Ahmed. Welcome. Let us know if it's good to see you and if you can see our screen all right and listen to us. So do you want to talk more about the issues that you looked at?
Yeah, so I went over some of the issues here. Maybe let me show it. And so there were, I guess we had more issues before, but I guess they might have cleaned it up. I don't know. But it looks like a lot, but actually it's not that much. There are not as many issues if you think about it, because some of them are very old and some of them are stale. And I was like, okay, let me just check ones that look and try to find some that look promising. And I think that
just a second, our camera is not showing up, so I think why? Well, it's okay. I don't mind about the camera that much, but I don't know why it's not working. Anyway, so what does it mean to say look promising?
So for me, interesting issues are the ones that have a good description, you know, so you can kind of understand. So if you look here, some of them are labeled as more information needed. And for me, it's hard to understand, like, for example, here, it might not be very obvious what the problem is. And then someone says, oh, I can't reproduce, so maybe it's not even a bug, or maybe the person couldn't explain the issue very well. So I'm just gonna not look at that because I don't have as much context.
Okay.
And so more information needed, those ones I'm not looking at them. And then some of them already have a pull request available. And I was like, oh, there's a solution already, so I'm not gonna try to look at them. And so it's basically, I just went over some of them, and if they were not stale, and if they didn't look too old, and if there was no solution or pull request available already, and they're not labeled as more information needed, they kind of look promising. And so I read some of them, and if I could understand what they were talking about, I said, okay, this looks promising to me. I can at least understand what they're talking about, which is easier. So for example, this one here, someone is complaining about action view. So action view renders the views, the HTML, JSON views, and all of that. And the person is saying that when you render a file, a raw file, the output's not HTML safe anymore. So it looks like it used to be like that, but it's not anymore. So maybe it's a bug, or maybe it's the desired, or maybe that changed. So, and there's another related issue. So yeah. So maybe, let's see here. What is this? Yeah, it seems that they're kind of changing the behavior of render file. So yeah, we'll see if
render file.
Yeah, maybe the behavior changed somehow. But yeah, but this was one of the options. Then the other one is related to sessions. So looks like when you create a Rails API only project, there's a problem with the sessions. So someone's complaining about session configuration or something. So this is probably, yeah, related to action packs, so controllers. So that looks interesting.
Okay.
And it seems that the error only happens when it's an API only Rails app, but not the normal app. So it might be a bug or something.
Okay. Let me just check why the camera is not showing up. I don't know. Anyway, sorry. You guys are gonna have to just listen to us. All right. So let's see if they had more details here. So Sidekick. So, okay. This should be rec session. Okay. So there are a few comments about what might it be, and it might lead us to at least we already know at least where to go look, for example. So this looks like promising. And then does it have the reproduction steps or no? Because our goal today, okay, awesome. Our goal today is like choose one and at least try to reproduce. And for example, this one looks kind of a good one because there's already some discussions about it, and then we can go like through the discussions and try to reproduce. And then the other issue is this one that also kind of have a lead to what the solution might be. However, I don't know what is the practice here. Do we ask about what the next steps are? But this one looks like also promising because the person added a steps to reproduce here, and there is also one potential way it can be solved. So I think those two seem promising, but I don't know how to pick it up. I mean, maybe this one might be easier because I don't remember if we need to set up anything for active storage.
You mean the database drivers?
Yeah.
Not for action pack, but we have everything set up, so shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I don't know. We could try to reproduce this one, but we can also try to reproduce this one. But this one has Sidekick involved, so I don't know how much of Sidekick we need to configure. So
yeah, maybe let's try the other one.
Okay, so it seems like this one is the selected. So we could potentially try to go and reproduce it to get started.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds good.
So if anyone has any experience with active storage and API only, feel free to help us along the way. And just so the live doesn't go for too long, I will add a timer for us to troubleshoot for a maximum of 40 minutes, and then we will pick it up next time.
So let's see. So the person's complaining about active storage. When you run active storage on disk, not using a provider like S3 or whatever, you get this error undefined method, Rails disk service URL. So it seems that when you add files to active storage, you can't generate a URL for them. And this URL probably points to a file on disk. So yeah. The test suite failed. Disk service trying to use the URL on an attached file. Okay. And it's an API only app. Interesting. I still want to use active storage. Blah blah blah. Then told the configuration to not draw the routes. Oh, okay, so the person would not draw the routes. And
zoom out.
This. So don't render the routes. And then when you try to, so when you attach a file to a model and you try to get the URL, you get this error. And she realized it was because she was removing the routes, so she did that. And then the URL helps her missing the method. And then she tried to come up with a workaround. And then set current host as the URL, I guess, but it wouldn't work. And she says either it's this the problem or this is the problem, because it's like lacking the current host or something. And then she created this gist. Let's see here. So you have a simplified Rails app. Only has Rails, and then on the application she has a host, draw routes false, and then she's using disk storage, and then I guess okay, so we have a test here, and then this is failing when you call. So you create a user and then you attach a file, like probably like a blank file, and then when you try to get the URL, you get the error she mentioned. So we could maybe create this little Rails app and see if we get this error as well. We could start there. What do you think?
Yeah. Sounds good. Can you go back to the issue and see, because I think there was one comment.
Possible bug.
And then someone asks if there is a specific reason to use the draw routes false. I think she said it's because she wanted to configure them.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
she wants to like customize.
I would provide my own via the API as needed.
Oh, I see. So she's gonna create some custom routes or something. Okay.
Okay, so
blah blah. When you disable, then the URL are not defined, leading to the error. It's possible to make your examples pass by adding the following. Yeah, so you kind of have to define the routes, right? Or else it's not gonna work.
So it seems that even if I have to read. Okay. So he's saying that the disk service reflects back on the application and not to some third-party service such as Amazon S3. So when you disable routes with draw routes false, then the URL helpers and routes for the disk service are not defined, leading to the error you saw. It's possible to make your example pass by adding the following. Oh. So she wants to disable the routes because she wants to configure them somewhere else, but apparently you have to have that at least because the active storage implementation relies on having those URLs defined.
Yeah, so you can't. But if you don't have the routes, if you don't have the URL, you can't really do that, right? You have to define them. So you can't call URL if you don't have them, I guess. So here, if you don't define them, if you don't draw them, and then you go and you call URL, then it's not gonna work. There's no way to make it work, I guess. You have to define them somewhere. Because when you say, oh, don't draw the routes here, where is it?
I think there.
Well, so when you say that, you say, okay, don't draw the routes. I'm gonna create some custom ones. But then you go and you say, oh, give me the URL. But there's no URL. So I guess you can't really do that, maybe?
Okay.
Or maybe it's kind of unexpected, like you would expect to be able to use the service even though you're not drawing the routes or something.
Okay. Scope in your config routes. So since the disk service is commonly used for development and testing, it probably makes sense for us to draw the disk related routes irrespective of the draw route setting if the disk service is currently active. We would probably restrict that behavior to the development and test environments, since it's not really designed for production use and most apps run off ephemeral storage on services like Heroku. Okay, so I'm a bit confused about this one because I don't know what this person is saying. I don't know his name. If he's saying that this is something that she should do on her app because she's trying to customize this behavior just for her, or it is still worth it trying to put a condition to test if the active storage is being used in development and test environments.
So I guess he's saying that they're gonna ignore the draw routes and allow you to and draw the routes anyway if you're using it on dev and test environments.
I think he's saying that is supposed to work just in development and test environments. Right?
Probably makes sense for us to draw these routes. Yeah, so he's saying here, it probably makes sense to do it anyway and ignore this and just do it anyway if it's a test or dev environment. And so you wouldn't need this if it's on test or dev. And so probably you just have to ignore this on the code.
Okay.
But it doesn't feel like a bug to me. It's just like a nice to have, I guess.
Storage. Okay, I'm trying to wrap up what he's suggesting. Like,
So probably what he's saying is wherever you draw the routes, there's probably, if draw routes false, you don't draw them, you don't add the helpers or whatever. But if it's true, then you draw them. I guess what he's saying is if it's dev or test, you just draw them anyway. So we could check the code maybe to understand it a little better. Draw routes. Let's see. Can we find this thing here? Here?
yeah, I have no idea where there is. I think I can just go in the. Yeah. Oh.
If active storage. So if active storage draw routes, you do all this stuff. Where is this code? Config active storage. Oh, I can't really see very well.
Yeah, it's because it either zooms out everything or.
Let's fix the font. How do I change the font? Settings?
I think so. Preferences? Preferences?
Settings.
Oh, yeah, font size, I guess.
Font size.
Yeah, here. Maybe.
30.
I think. Okay, it's better.
You save.
I think so.
25.
Okay.
So active storage config routes. Routes draw.
Where does it
If active storage
define the URL?
So what do you mean?
Where is the .url definition? Like,
so this gets added to the model. So let's see here. So we have this accessor. No, sorry. URL. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to understand this better. There's probably a helper somewhere.
Can you remove this? I don't. Or minimize the folder so I can see the entire. Yeah.
Yeah. So that other one looked more promising. So this guy creates routes for
I think maybe let's go back a little bit because I don't understand what we are looking at again. Let me see if I can summarize the problem and what we are trying to do. So this, to access an attachment URL using active storage, you need to have the routes like just the way it is configured by Rails by default, right? If you don't change your routes, you won't have any troubles accessing any of the properties of an attachment, right? But then the person said that she's using an API only, and I know that the API only doesn't have a bunch of Rails configuration stuff. And then I think that she put back the modules required to use active storage in the API only, because it's highly, because you can customize your API only. So that's great. She wanted to do that. But then she didn't want to draw the routes because she was going to do it in her API. All right. So she's implementing active storage by calling all the modules. And then she's also saying, I don't want the Rails normal routes. I'm going to do them. And then she realized that she can't get the URL with that implementation, because the active storage routes that generate the URL helpers was giving like this no method error. All right.
Yeah,
Is that it?
because you the attachment, that object probably doesn't have the helpers or the methods, because they get added when you say draw routes.
Oh,
So
okay.
I guess that's what happening, because see, if it seems that this thing is only done if draw routes
it's true.
right?
Oh, I
So I
see.
think that's because then here it probably adds a bunch of methods, a bunch of stuff. That's my suspicion, but I don't know. This is like the first result I got here. So it might be something else, but that's an idea.
Oh, okay. I think it is making more sense now. Routes prefix.
Yeah, so draw routes.
Okay, and then can you come back, please, to the... Oh, see? Config active storage. Draw routes can be used to toggle active storage route generation. Oh, so that is just for active storage?
Yeah, so this draw routes thing, I guess, is only for active storage, not for other stuff.
Oh, okay.
So here's it's a configuration for active storage, right?
Oh, so okay. So then, yeah. So that makes sense that you don't have the URL.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. You have to implement something, right? But maybe what she's saying is that she can't override the behavior. You see what I mean? Because she's saying, oh, I don't want you to draw them. I'm gonna do it myself.
Okay.
So I'm saying draw routes false, and then she's gonna do it herself. But I guess you can't, because then you don't have this method.
It's looking for that one that is not defined.
Yeah, so it's not defined because draw routes is false, but she would like to be able to use it, but she can't, right? I guess that's what the problem is.
But then, is it a good idea to try to default, like override stuff using the same name? Or is that...
What do you mean?
Like, let's say that I have a method from Rails that says cat, and then I want to implement my own method called cat.
So it's not that she wants to implement her own URL method. It's just that she wants her routes to look a specific way, right? So she's not like going, oh, override this method. That's not the idea. The idea is, I want my routes to look some customized way, but she can't. I guess she can't, because if you don't draw the routes, you can't really do anything. You can't use this method because there's no method, right? because you only get added when this is true. So I guess, like, this is an assumption, but I guess you would do something like, if, you know, I'm just and like that, like env equals dev, you know, something like that.
Not production, I guess.
Yeah, so we'll have to look it up, but I guess you would still draw the routes in dev and test environments. So draw routes, or something like, I don't know, env, Rails env. I don't know if this is even valid, but or something like that. You know what I mean?
Test dev. Okay.
Yeah, so something crazy like that. Maybe that's what the guy is saying.
Okay.
But that's I don't know, but it could be it.
Okay. So do you want to try then to create an API only? Let me just you see that I like to ask lots of questions. By the way, if anyone that is watching us has any questions, just let us know in the chat. All right, so he's explaining a little bit. I will just read it one more time and kind of try to explain, because that's how I understand things better. So the disk service reflects back on the application and not on the services. So when you disable routes by calling that, okay, so you're missing out on all of the helpers and the routes for the disk service. Okay,
Yeah.
makes sense, leading to the error you saw. All right, so you're saying I don't want to draw routes. You don't get those methods. It's possible to make your example pass by adding the following. So he's saying to just add this scope for her specific case, their specific case, because apparently if you pass this, you will get all the helpers, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you're just adding the prefix there, and they always get used, even though draw false,
Okay.
draw equals false or something.
All right.
routes equals false.
So after your initialize line, to make it work in your application, you just need to include the scope block in your config routes file. Okay. I don't understand this though, because this is added in the config routes, right? And so why is he saying to add after the Rails application initialize line? That's where I'm confused.
Can you open her example?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. So this is the reproduction steps.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see where.
So look at the application config. Yeah.
Oh,
see?
here.
So he's saying you gotta do it after that line, and then the problem will be solved.
Okay. Okay. And then he's explaining that the disk service is used just for development and testing. So that probably makes sense to draw the disk related routes irrespective of the draw route setting if the disk service is currently active. So I guess that instead, since the disk service is configured to only run on development or in the test environment, I guess we can just let me go back here. We can just check here instead if the disk services is running, but I don't know how we check that.
Yeah, we have to look it up, but there's probably a way to do it.
Okay. We would probably restrict that behavior to the development and test environments. Okay, but I guess that regardless of that, it is still good to add this condition, right? If it is like test and environment in development and the disk service is currently active, then draw the routes. That's my understanding from his.
But then why do you need the draw routes if you're always rendering them in test and dev?
Why?
Because it's kind of a gotcha. Like say you set draw routes false, but you don't know that it's always going to render the routes when it's using disk service, whatever. It's kind of a gotcha, right? Because it's saying, oh, draw routes equals false. You don't want to draw the routes. But if it's a disk service and you're running on dev or test, it's always going to draw them. You might even write some tests, and the tests will pass, and they'll say, oh, URL is valid and all of that. So your test will pass. But when you say you run this in production and you're running a disk service in production,
but is that possible?
I guess it's possible. Like nothing prevents you from just using.
Okay.
Maybe it's kind of weird. I don't think it would make sense to use it, but I don't know. We will have to look at the documentation, because maybe it's not a common practice to do that in production.
Yeah, I don't.
Because he says here, let's see here. Commonly used.
Okay, so it's commonly used. It's not exclusively. So we can't. I see. Okay, so we can't just check that the disk is currently in use, because it has this behavior is just for development and test. So
no, I mean, you can do what he's saying here. Like we can do all of these. What I'm saying is, if we do that, it's kind of a gotcha. You have to know.
I see.
But I guess, I don't know. I guess it's fine. I don't have a lot of context on this, but
okay. Well, if it is possible to use the disk storage in production, I guess yes, we have to be extra. All right. Config storage. Okay.
Yeah, I guess it would be weird to use this in production, right? Use disk service in production. It's not a very common thing to do that.
Oh, I guess you see that you have this local and test environment.
Yeah, you do that because you wanna test attaching files and uploading files, but you don't want to use S3 just to run tests and things like that, because it's not a good idea. Doesn't make sense.
Okay. All right. So what do you think then of trying just to reproduce? Do you think it's still like worth it trying to reproduce the error and potentially do the fix it was suggested? And then, regardless of that, we ask for more directions. Like, should we add this clause to the draw routes in behavior? Like,
I think we can create a pull request and just ask if this is what the person intended.
okay.
But yeah, we have to reproduce the error.
Okay, so
'cause
let's.
That's how we know
Uh-huh.
we are able to fix it.
All right. So maybe we can do that before doing anything.
Yeah, we could just do this. Let's see. So I guess you can just create this file. Oops.
Do you want to remove the line that we added
Which line?
in the active storage, in the file that we were editing? Let's take
Yeah.
a look.
I can do that after.
Okay.
Rails app. Yeah, so you mean here.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you just run this thing? How do you work with this stuff?
I don't know. I was about to say that I didn't even know you could just like run that.
I guess you can just do, maybe you can just do Ruby, but you probably need to install the dependencies. Maybe if you
Yeah.
create like a folder. Let's see here.
That's actually a good point. I don't know. Does anyone know if we can just like run that file? Or do we need to create like a Rails API only tiny
I
app?
don't think so, but I don't know how to run this. We have to figure it out.
Maybe you can call like rake something.
Move Rails app.
What are
Can we do this? I guess not.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
You probably need some dependencies. Oh,
Oh.
nice. You can just run it. That's
So
cool.
what did you type? Bundle.
So you need this file. Let's just create a file. Blank.
Can you make it bigger? I don't think. No. I think you have to go in the preferences.
Here.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Too much.
Yeah. Okay. That's great.
So if you run this Rails, and I have a blank file there.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see the error. Let's make it smaller. Doesn't look
Undefined method. Is that the same error?
I don't think so. Let's see here. Maybe. Is it really working? So 6131. I guess. Let's see here. Rails one for single file.
Oh, for fun. Oh, that's actually cool. I didn't know that.
So how do you run this?
That's super cool.
Yeah, I guess you
You
can
just
just run
go-
it. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So, but then let's see. Because let's go back here.
It looks like Rails is running.
Rake. I just wanna check. Okay,
Rails.
6131. Yeah, it looks like
Can you
It's
make it bigger?
working.
I don't think.
here.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
This.
at least like that. Okay,
Ba-bum.
remove that. Okay. Can
So
you?
It's
Oh, you see there that it's calling generated URL for file at key. So, okay. So it kind of tries to run that.
so what is the test again?
Mm-hmm.
Blank.
It's just trying to check that there is a URL.
Yeah, so URL does not raise. Undefined method.
Rails disk service URL. Okay.
Yeah, so this should not raise an error. So that's the
Mhm.
problem. Because I guess if you changed here to true, let's try that.
Mm.
It should not raise, maybe. It still raises an error.
Generated. Yeah. Can you confirm?
Maybe it's not the error, maybe it's something else.
Yeah. Can you confirm the error there that she said was happening? Oh, can you remove that line?
Which line?
But it's not related to what we added, right? No, never mind. In the routes file. This is a different standalone project.
Yeah.
Never mind. I think it's better if you have one just for each, because you can't. Yeah. Can you see what is the error that she said she was having, please?
I think it was no method error.
Yeah, undefined method.
Yeah,
It's the same, isn't
yeah.
it? Okay.
Rails disk service URL. Rails disk
Yeah.
service URL. So yeah, we get the error, and then let's try to fix it. So let's try that.
Well, but even that's good that we were able to reproduce, but I was under the impression that if we changed the configuration of the draw routes to true, it would work.
I guess so.
Yeah, but didn't we do that and it didn't?
Yeah, it didn't work. Maybe I can open a terminal here. Is it good?
Mhm.
So Ruby Rails app.
Okay.
Still gets. I get a different error now.
Rails
Interesting.
info. Okay, but I guess that's still helpful though. Because when we change to true, we got a different error.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's
Am I doing this correctly? He said after initialize, right?
take a look.
After initialize line, you need to include the scope block and config routes.
Oh, but then you would need to put the draw routes now to false, right?
It is false.
It is?
Yeah, I didn't change that, so
Okay.
still false.
What does it happen if you change it back to true with that fix?
Here?
Oh, hey Guy.
Hey Guy. Let's try that.
Okay. So Rails. Yeah, we get a different error.
That's funny.
Isn't that because in this file there's no routes at all? Like,
but we are adding them here. I guess we are adding them.
Okay. Undefined method.
Yeah, so we do get the error. But that fix doesn't seem to work.
Okay.
Or maybe we're doing something wrong.
Well, but I think we can add a comment and say that we reproduced the error, we added the fix, but then we got a different error. That might, that's information, so we could definitely add a comment. And then hopefully by next live we have more orientation. I don't know.
Yeah, like if we create a gist and comment here and say, hey, we tried this but doesn't work.
Yeah.
But it's funny because it's complaining about another URL, right? So
But I think if we just add that and what is the error that we are getting, I think it's a good way to stop today.
Yeah, okay.
Right, so comment and comment that. Oh yeah, Thiago has a very loud keyboard.
Not too loud.
Just a little bit. Okay.
False. And then this. And then URL.
Okay.
I still get
this error. Defined. Generate URL. Can you take a look at that implementation here? Like disk service. So if you go to active storage, service, disk service, verified key protocol. Oh, didn't she mention something about the host?
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe we can... But then why wouldn't you set the host?
Does she set the host? Current host? Oh, no. Here?
Can you see if...
Yeah.
Okay.
And define a method Rails disk service URL. Interesting. And then here, oops. generate URL. You have the host. So it's saying that this method doesn't exist for this
helper.
Hmm.
Generate URL. Well, okay. I think honestly, if we add that and we just say now we are getting this error, is that helpful? I don't know. Maybe.
Local.
Torrents. Hosts.
Yeah. It's funny. It should work, I guess. What's the Rails version? 6131. Yeah. Not sure. Maybe it doesn't even work.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible we need to also add something else because the API only has way less configuration stuff for you. So you have to do everything back. You have to add everything back.
Okay, so should we just create a guest with?
I think so.
Show the error. Still get the error.
Yeah.
It's a different one, right? Or no?
Yeah, because at least we provide more information. I guess that's useful. Because we tried the suggestion, but we got a different error.
No, it's the same error.
It's the same?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Rails disk service URL. It's the same error. Even when we add. So we added this, but still the same error.
And that's regardless if we draw the routes or not, right?
Yeah. If you put true here, you get a different error. So let's see. No, it's the same error.
It's the same error.
Same thing.
Okay. Okay.
What if? Yeah, same error. Not sure. Let's create a guest there.
Okay. So we would just add like a comment saying that we were able to reproduce. We tried the suggestion here, but we still got the same error, even if we added the draw routes true. Maybe you can copy the name of her file and add reproduced.
This one. You can't add names to
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you can. Oh, it's the name of the...
copy. Where is... So we did this, we added this, and then output. here. Here. Oops.
Okay.
Public.
Mm-hmm.
So
Does it have both? Oh, okay. Okay, so I guess we can comment like, hey, we tried. We were able to reproduce.
quote.
Mm-hmm.
What's the name of the person? Pixel Tricks.
Mm-hmm.
Pixel Tricks. We're trying to help. We were able to reproduce the error, but
We also tried your suggestion.
also try your suggestion, but we still get the same error. Maybe we're
Okay.
comment.
Yeah. Okay. I think we can recap for today. That was actually pretty cool that we were able to just run the file to reproduce the error. I didn't know how to do that. Like, that was cool.
Yeah, so Bundler allows you to add your gems inline now, which is pretty cool. So you can have a single file Rails app if you want to, which is pretty interesting. So we learned something new.
Yeah. So I think it's a good way to stop today. Like, just to recap, we went through the issues and we tried to find the ones that at least had reproduction steps or required, just a little or no configuration, like active record or stuff like that. And then this one looked promising. It looked like a good one to get started. and especially because he had like a recommendation, but then it took me a long time to try to understand first the problem, what she tried to do, why she wanted to do it this way, and also what the suggestion was about. And then, but I think that being able to reproduce, try the suggestion, and still get the same error is also valuable, especially because the issue was opened like 2 weeks ago and it hasn't received any other information. So I guess that might be helpful.
The person might be busy, so.
Oh no, I'm not saying that. I'm not calling out on her. I'm just saying the issue was open and there wasn't any activity. So at least I think this is a good stopping point. So let's see if we get any answers or any feedback or another suggestion for next time. But I think this was a pretty good session.
Yeah, it's cool to be able to reproduce the error, right? So yeah, we learned something new, which is cool.
Yeah, and sorry about the camera. I don't know why it didn't work when we were showing the code. But yeah, that's awesome. Thanks everyone who joined. Let us know what did you think of how we went. If you have any feedback, like should we go slower? I don't know. We are just two streamers, beginners, newbies.
Newbies.
Yeah. But this is a way to contribute to Rails. It's also helpful for the person that opened the issue or for the maintainers.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you should see here. There are many issues without reproduction steps. And it's always useful to just understand the issue, try to reproduce it, and say, yeah, it's a real issue, it's a real bug. Because then someone else might come in and say, oh, okay, I understand the problem, I can fix it, right? So you don't have to always fix bugs to be able to help. So.
And to me, that's a good way to actually understand more about the code base, where things are located. And, you don't just join a new team and you go already fixing stuff, right? You have to understand how, the conventions and all of that. So I think this is a good way to get immersed in the code. And I think, we are going to wrap up for today. So subscribe to our channel so you can know when we have the next one scheduled, and hopefully we will be able to, I don't know, fix that issue or add documentation somewhere. That might be a potential solution as well, right? Yeah. So we will keep you updated.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for joining.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.